What's up guys, it is me Dazzling Simmer and welcome back to another video on my channel. So today I'm going to share with you guys how exactly I make my thumbnails. Now surprisingly, I've been getting tons of questions on how I make them and I'm just like, but it's so simple. This is literally going to be the easiest, cheapest, and just, I don't know, most unuseful thumbnail tutorial ever because it is literally the easiest thing ever. But I decided, well, you know, I'm getting so many questions about it. Let's just show you guys anyways. So we are here on my YouTube channel right now because I wanted to show you guys just how simple my thumbnail style is. As you can see, they are really simplistic, really kind of straight to the point. I just have the sim usually, then I have a title with what's it about. Sometimes I don't even add a background, I just have a little shadow right here. And sometimes I do add more of a background, but it's all really black and white, really abstract, really simple, modern, and I like it that way. So some people like to go all out with their thumbnails. I personally like to focus more on the video and a little bit less on the thumbnail. This is also because I am obviously not a graphic designer. I don't have a lot of experience with programs like Photoshop. I literally just want to show you guys what the video is about, the title, the sim, and everything. And apparently you guys seem to like it because I do get quite a lot of compliments on my thumbnails, which is surprising, I know. But anyway, so in this video I will quickly show you in Create a Sim how I take my screenshots and everything. Then I will show you what programs I do use to make my thumbnails. And that's pretty much it. It's all free, it's easy, and I just really want to help you guys out when you're just starting a YouTube channel or when you've been around for a longer time but you just can't really find a way to make good thumbnails and have it be cheap. So yeah, that is what we are going to do today. And yeah, let's just hop right into Create a Sim. Alright, we have made it to Create a Sim, and first off I want to show you guys how I pick poses for my sims to take screenshots for my thumbnails. So to use a pose, you need to download these first and place them in your mods folder. Now I will link a few good poses in the description so you can use them for your thumbnails, but there's so many different poses out there that the best thing you can do is just go to Tumblr or go to Google or go to Pinterest or whatever and type in Sims 4 poses, and what you are looking for are Create a Sim poses, so CAS poses. You don't want in-game poses, although you can use those as well, just takes a little bit more effort. And that's also really handy when you want to do like a group pose. But for now, for in Create a Sim purposes, you created a sim, you want to take a screenshot of it, you are good to go with a Create a Sim pose. So what a Create a Sim pose is, it is usually a trait. I will show you quickly. For example, the self-assured trait, I have a few poses for that. And when you click that, your sim will do the poses and you can take your screenshot. So I will show you quickly. There she goes. This one has 5 poses, I believe. Yeah, 5 poses. And there's a lot more where that came from. We have, for example, the hot-headed trait. There's a lot of poses. We have, I believe, the active trait. I have some, yeah. And etc, etc. There's so many out there, and what you want to look for, you created a sim obviously, and some poses will glitch, for example with the hair or with an outfit you chose. So you want to pick a pose that matches what you created so that it looks good in the thumbnail. So that's why I like to download a few poses. I have the self-assured one, I have the hot-headed one, I have active, cheerful, gloomy, and then I believe I have, I think, geek. Yeah, I have a few in geek too. So I have about, well, I guess that would be more than 50 poses to choose from. And that's really what you're going to want to go for. So that whenever you create a sim that has maybe a more challenging hairstyle or a more challenging outfit, there will always be at least one pose that will fit your sim. So anyways, I assume that you all know how to take screenshots in-game, but for those of you who don't know, you simply press the C button on your keyboard. When you press that, you will take a screenshot. So for example, if we go with the active trait, I will take a screenshot. It'll say right there. and etc, etc. So you just keep taking screenshots until you find one that you like. I usually take about, well, what can I say? I think I take about 10 screenshots per sim I create, and then I just easily make a thumbnail with that. I will just do a few in the cheerful category as well, etc. So that is what you do. And actually something that can be really, really helpful is using a cheat, which is CAS clock speed. I'm talking while typing, so I'm screwing up. CAS clock speed, and you can change the speed at which your sim will be moving. So the usual setting is 1, so that is what it is right now. But if you want it to be a little bit faster, you can do it at 2. And as you can see, your sim will start to move a lot faster. And when you click poses, she will move a lot faster too, as you can see, which can make it easier to take a lot of screenshots at once. Anyway, so that is pretty much how I take my screenshots in a game. Now I will show you how I go further and edit that into a thumbnail. Alright, so the first thing I always want to do when I pick the screenshot I like most is remove the background. Now something that really helps in this department is to install a white Create a Sim background. It doesn't necessarily need to be white, but it has to be like a plain color so you can easily cut that out behind your sim. Alright, so how I do this might be a little bit different from how you are going to do this because I am on a MacBook. So on a MacBook, it's really easy. You open your picture, you click the little toolbox right here, you click this little thing and you just select it all and you can delete it. So that's what I do. But if you are on a different kind of PC, you might have to install like Paint or GIMP, just some free software that'll allow you to remove the background from your picture. But that's all pretty easy. I suppose you can just download Paint and that'll remove the background for you. So I will just quickly remove the rest of this. Alright. Now you do want to make sure that you get these little pieces of white or whatever color your background is as well, because whenever I add a shadow or a background, that might show up and it looks really ugly. Now I usually only add a shadow on the left side of my sim, so I will just leave the right side for what it is because it usually doesn't really show up. Alright, that looks good. And then what I usually do is I tweak with the settings a little bit. Again, this might be different if you are not on a MacBook, and it's different because obviously this is in Dutch right now, but this is pretty much the brightness and this is the contrast, and those are the only two I really use. So I usually tweak up the brightness a little bit and then contrast a little bit, and that's it, and I save it. And then we are off to the next step. Alright, so the next step in me creating my thumbnails is this website called PicMonkey. Now this is pretty much my entire software or whatever, you can't even really call it that, but this is pretty much the only thing I use to create my thumbnails in. I don't use Photoshop, I don't use GIMP, I don't use Paint, nothing. It is completely free and it is super easy to use, so I absolutely love it. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to click edit and you want to go and open a white background. So I just googled white and it literally gave me this image of a white background, and that is what I've been using since. Now of course, if you have a different style, you can use a different background. You can use a Sims 4 background, you can use a screenshot you took, you can literally use anything as a background, as long as you can like tweak a little bit with the sizes of the image, because that is really important. You'll see in the next step. Alright, so I'm going to open that white background right now, and I will be back with you guys in a second. Alright, so here you can see the white background I use, and as you can probably already tell, it is way too small. Now, what you want to do at first is a resize. This is the most important thing to make your thumbnail look good. You want to untick this box and you want to change the size to 1280 by 720. This is really important because this will ensure that your thumbnail will keep its proportions when you upload your video to YouTube. This is the standard YouTube sizing for thumbnails, and this is what you have to use to make it look good. I can't stand it when I watch some people's channels and I see the entire proportion messed up and I'm like, oh, it's so easy. 1280, 720, 1280, 720. Oh my God. Oh yeah, I'm losing it. But this is just really, literally the most important thing thing you need to do before starting your thumbnail. 1280, 720. Alright, as you can see, we now have a great canvas to use to start creating our thumbnail. Now, the next thing I always do is I go to Overlays right here, and I click that. And I'm going to click Add Your Own Overlay. Now, this is the moment where I go into my Documents, Electronic Arts, The Sims 4, and then Screenshots. And I will open the screenshot we just edited in the other program. So that is what I'm going to do right now, and you will see that in a second. Alright. Here we have my screenshot, and I'm just going to tweak the size a little bit. This is really easy. You can literally go ahead and drag it up and down and adjust the size to whatever you want to. So I think I'm going to go with something like this. And if you right-click the image, it'll show a lot more options. So you can, for example, duplicate it. Now this is what I always do to create the shadow. I just duplicated the image. Now I'm going to right-click that again. And I'm going to send it to the back, and then I'm going to make it fade a little bit. As you can see, it has now created a shadow. Alright, let's just tweak that a little bit more to how I like it. Alright, probably something like this. But there are a lot more other functions as well. For example, if you duplicate it, and let's say you want it to be like a mirror image. So we have this sim right here and this one right here. And you click this, it'll change, and you would put it like this, but obviously in the center of the picture, and you could create something like that. So it's like a really easy program, but it does have some more functions that you can go ahead and experiment with yourself to create the thumbnail you want. But I am going to keep it simple for the sake of this tutorial. So I'm going to click it right here, delete this overlay. You could also click the little bin right here, delete. Alright, so now we are back to this, and now I will show you the website I use to create the text in my thumbnails. So the website I use to add text to my thumbnails is flamingtext.com. Now this website has tons of amazing like letter types and everything, and even if you click one of them, you can still tweak with it. You can, change the color of it, you can change the style, you can change like the shadowing and change the sizes and everything. So that's really great. Now this is the one I always use, and I just click one randomly, doesn't really matter which one. Then I go to background first, and I make sure it's transparent. Alright, and then I go to logo, and I click color instead of pattern, and I make that white. And as you can see, this style already has a shadow by itself, so that looks great already. And then of course I change the text. So in this case I would type how I make my thumbnails. Make my thumbnails. Alright, so that's pretty much it. And then I go to next, and I simply press download, and it'll download. We go back to PicMonkey, we click add your own overlay, and you find the text and you add it. Alright, there it is. And then I'll just drag it to where I want it, usually at the bottom of my screen. And I will change the sizing. Now, for my liking, this is a little bit too small. So what I then do is I click the eraser button. I will change up the size, make it a little bit bigger, and the hardness up to 100. And I will delete, for example, the thumbnail part. Alright, so that is gone now. You can also do this with your sim. So if there's anything you missed, you can still change that. You can erase it, or you can add, you can do whatever you want. Then I change this, and I make this a little bit bigger. And then what you can do, for example, is add text in this program. So we go to the text sidebar, and we are going to add a text. Now this is the letter type I always use, so I will add the text, and I will type thumbnails. Now as you can see, this is really small now, but we can make that bigger. So we are going to select that, and we are going to make that, what should we do? Let's try 64. No, that's still too small. Maybe something like this. And then we just drag this, and I will put that down here. I still think it might be a little bit too small, so I'm going to actually type in maybe 110. Alright, so now we have this, and what I usually like to do is duplicate that, send this one to the back and give that a little bit of a shadow. Now, as you can see, I didn't really mean to send it all the way to the back, but this is actually a great opportunity for me to show you guys how you can also change the layering of your layers. So I actually wanted this to just be behind the other thumbnail thing. So you can literally drag this around wherever you want it and it will change the layering. So I want it right here behind the other thumbnail thingy. And I want this to be about this bright, I guess. Let's see what that looks like when it stops selecting. Alright, now it's not really centered yet, so I'm just going to tweak that a little bit to about there. Now, the next thing I do is I add a background. Now, I usually just go to Google and type in black and white background or triangle background, black and white, or polka dotted background, black and white, whatever I want. Or sometimes I even do like Tumblr inspired background or aesthetic inspired background, and it'll give you a bunch of possible backgrounds, and that's literally what I use. So I will try and find one right now, and I'll be back with you guys in a second. Alright, as you can see, I found a background, and the first thing I do, of course, is send it to the back. Then I usually make it a little bit bigger so it goes around my entire sim. And what I then like to do is add a circle, and I will put it right up to the edges of that background, just like this. Then I make color 2 transparent. Then I go to my layering section and I choose that background, go to the eraser and erase the excess on the sides, just like that. So everything that falls out of the circle is being erased right now, just like that. And then what I like to do is go back to that circle. Let's move this aside, and then I make this color white, and then I actually send it like backwards all the way to here. So the only thing that is like lower than that is your background itself. Then you have the circle, then you have your 2 sim files, then you have your text, etc. Alright, so I perfected that off screen a little bit, but as you can see, there is a slight color difference between this white, which is more of a gray, and this white on the side. So what I'm going to do is select that layer with the background and actually go to this option right here, the hard light option, and as you can see, that changes the difference between the two. So that is what I use. And there is still a slight color difference, don't get me wrong. But when you go to your YouTube and you upload everything, that will be hardly noticeable. And obviously, this is a really cheap, easy way to do this, so it's not going to be perfect always. But yeah, this is pretty much how I make my thumbnails. I then go to save it. So I come up with like a name. It's called white now because of the background, but whatever, I'm just gonna do a random one right now. And then I usually go for the quality of Sean, which is high resolution but larger file size. Now you could also go for Pierce, which is great resolution and good file size, or a Roger, low resolution, tiny file size, which I would not recommend. I always use Sean. Then you want to check your dimensions if they are still 1280, 720, and you are going to save it. And that's really it. That is all I do to create my thumbnails. I really hope this helped some of you guys. Now, don't forget to let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye!